Hey, everybody, it's Jim Johnson here, the head coach at Contractor Coach PRO, and your host here on Contractor Radio, where we help contractors get control of their business so they can grow their business and find some personal and financial freedom. We're here to share with you guys valuable content that should help you in certain
All right, Paul, that should be
situations
a
out
couple
there.
like you could
And
do
today, the one I'm going to be talking about is one that's very
thumbnail for
near
us,
and
so
dear to my heart. It actually gets
here we go.
back to my roots and this idea of storm restoration. You're a contractor out there, you do insurance work. Maybe insurance work has presented itself to you. There's been a lot of storms this year. And so today's show is going to be totally about that. So if you're not into storm restoration, hey, check out one of our other episodes. But if you are, this is going to be one that should hit pretty hard for you and give you this opportunity to optimize a dream storm without creating an absolute nightmare. And I've been in those situations before. I want to share with you some of the tips that I learned along the way through this little bit of hard knocks and shoot from the hip approach, and also from the coaching that we've done over the last 10 years or so in helping contractors handle these situations. I got some pretty good training early on, some insight. I gathered a lot of information from a variety of folks throughout the industry back in the late 90s and continued to do so through the 2000s. Again, more during my time at AccuLinks and meeting a lot of storm restoration contractors. And finally, these last 10 years of coaching contractors with a lot of those folks doing some type of insurance work. So if you're a storm restoration contractor, hasn't gone real well for you so far, or you want to optimize it even more, or maybe you've got the opportunity to do some storm work, I want to go through a few of the things that helped those that I've helped over the years, and maybe they'll help you as well. So guess what? You've got a storm. This opportunity has presented itself. You were rolling along just fine. You had plans for your year. You don't plan for a storm necessarily, but you're ready for one if one happens. And so many are not. So many have a storm happen in their area and then they don't know what to do. They don't know all the ins and outs of it. They don't have any plan for it. And they end up shooting from the hip, running off half cocked, creating an absolute nightmare for themselves because they're used to doing a certain level of business and having this slow growth. And then all of a sudden, bam, you have this opportunity to double, triple, quadruple, and 10x your business in this really short time frame. And you don't want to not take advantage of that opportunity. You're sitting there going, I got to go get it. And I would caution you a little bit there. If you don't already have a plan, you're in a storm and everything already, follow the plan you already had. This plan that control growth, following your systems, those type of things, stick to that as much as you possibly can. Now, with all of that said, I would strongly advise being proactive about these things and having a storm attack plan. That's what we call it. We actually coach a lot of folks out there that do this type of work, and we actually build out this storm attack plan, this approach and way to do things that gives you a running start. You have things in place to actually cover all the bases that need to be covered. So first things first, the very first thing, storm happens, have a recon plan. In other words, you're going to go out and do some reconnaissance on it. Whether that's a storm that's local to you or you're thinking about going to another storm, we'll talk about that in just a minute, the two differences between those. But this idea that I've got opportunity, it has presented itself to me and I need to do something about it. And so we're going to go out and we're going to go look. We're going to get the information from our resources like Hailtrace. We're big fans of Hailtrace. If you don't use Hailtrace, you should. They have some great technology, not just the storm maps and stuff like that, but names and addresses of homeowners inside of those storms, and actually able now, which is super awesome, the ability to tell which houses are damaged, which I can't believe that that's even a piece of technology today. But Hailtrace has figured it out and might be worth you checking them out to do some of your recon with. It gives you where you need to go, or at least really close. Hailtrace is the most accurate of the ones that we've seen. There's others out there. There's Hail Recon and anything weather. There's several others that are out there as choices, but the one that we found to work best is Hailtrace. It gives you where to go, and then you can go and confirm. And I don't care how accurate any of those ever get. I want to put eyes on it, and I want to have somebody put eyes on it that knows what they're doing. They know what hail damage looks like. They know significant damage versus borderline damage, and having a plan of how I want to go about it. Do I want to go into ground zero? Like, I'm going to go into ground zero where everybody else is going to be, and we're going to battle it out there? Are we going to be more of an edge approach? We're going to put a phalanx around the storm and work those outer edges. Different approaches for different folks. I kind of like both. We are a big enough team where we could handle both, but sometimes we have to make a decision of which one we want to do. But assuming that we've done our recon, we've gone to at least 10 locations in a variety of spots throughout that storm. We've identified a few things. We've identified the type of homes that we want to work on, the demographics, the target, the bullseye. We talk about bullseye marketing all the time that, hey, I have this bullseye that I want to go after. Not just anybody that's got damage or anybody with a roof for that matter, but a very specific group. Because if I have a specific group, I can market to them really easily. Like for me, whenever a storm would happen and I was a salesperson, my target was gated golf course communities with specialty roofing, high dollar roofs. They were behind gates. So once I got in, I was by myself. I didn't have a lot of competition. And they liked something I liked, which was golf. And so I could speak that language with them. I could apply incentive to them that fit them. So, hey, everybody that does an inspection with me gets a free case of Titleist Pro V1 golf balls. I got a lot of inspections. And then I would put them all in a drawing for anybody that went with me for a set of irons, Titleist AP1 irons, which are really nice irons. And so I was able to apply incentive that I could do because of the type of bullseye I was after versus just everybody out there. And so think about who your bullseye is and how could you market specifically to them to get into those neighborhoods, because we don't have to get everybody. That's the whole thing. Like as a salesperson, we don't have to get everybody. We'd like to get a lot of people, but we don't have to get everybody. I really need 30. We're going to talk about that in just a minute and what that means to me over a year. Then we want to set some goals. We say, hey, there is a storm. Based on where we stand right now, this is what our goal is. Our goal could be a slight increase because we don't have much of a plan just yet. We do have a team, more opportunities present itself. With that opportunity, we know we can close better. And so we believe that we could actually do this. Maybe we could hire 1 or 2 more people and handle that halfway decently and create an opportunity to have a pretty good year. Or you actually have a storm attack plan and you actually know how to put the things in place to ramp up quickly for these type of situations. You might set your goals based on that. So your goals can be different, but you got to have them. This is what we're going to do in this storm. This is going to break it down by quarter, by month, by week, by day. And it starts to become a lot more realistic. If you really think about it, most markets out there have about 40 weeks to work. And if we just met 2 people a day that were interested in what we do, that would be 10 people a week. If you're in storm restoration, if you're not closing at least 50%, you need to get some training. We're going to talk about that today too. But I close 50% of them. That's 5 deals a week times 40 weeks. That's 200 jobs. And you can do the math on your own commission of what that would be. But boy, that's really achievable. It's not all that hard to do to kind of hit those types of numbers. So get your goals down. Then understand what your resources are. What resources do you currently have available to you? You've probably got a client list, people that you've been helping over the years, doing work for and being involved with. That's your first attack. That's the first thing you should do. You got to get information out to them and say, hey, we have a warranty on your roof. We need to come inspect it. Not we would like to come inspect it. Would you like us to? We need to. We have a warranty on it. We have to make sure that that warranty is still in place. You will set an appointment with everybody that you have a contract with, and it's not an option. It's a must do, not a maybe. So that gets you in the door and gets you this ability to get a lot of business really quickly. Your network. Know your network. That's another resource that you have available to you. All the people that you've connected with, whether that's on social media or maybe in a B&I group or Toastmasters or some of those types of groups that are out there. Knowing what your network is. Maybe you've created your own personal network of gutter companies and window companies and pool companies and all these other people that work with other people, and you've created some type of exchange incentive-wise that, hey, send somebody to me and I'll do this for you, whatever that may be, but have a plan for that. Then think about your staffing. Do I have the staff to handle a big increase in volume? If not, what will I do about it? Can the staff that I have currently, do they know somebody that would fit into our culture pretty well and pretty fast because of the opportunity that has presented itself? So think about your staff and then their friends. Their friends will be very similar to who they are, which allows them to probably fit your culture a little bit better. So that's your first plan of action is, hey, is my staff what they need to be? If they're not, who are their friends? If my staff is good, and get them in. And then the third option is to start going out there and following a hiring process, which we'll talk about a little bit today as well. What do we have as far as crew availability? So if we don't have many crews and all this opportunity has created itself, we can't go out there and obtain a bunch of work without putting people way back in time. And the further back in time that you put them is more of an opportunity for somebody else to come in and snag that deal out from underneath you. So prior to a storm, as we coach, we say build a Rolodex of crews that are out there. All of these folks that you can call. Ideally, you find a crew foreman or crew leader that has several crews available to him. There are some tools out there nowadays and some resources that allow to hire subcontractors if that's what you're going to go after. And is that the approach? Do you want to use subcontractors or do you want to use your own crews? It's hard to scale up really fast by having your own people, where having subcontractors allows you to scale quickly. But before you do that, you want to make sure that they're in line with the type of quality that you want to do. We used to have a test roll, and they had to take a test. They had to show, we had a little roof built inside of our building, and they would have to take it off and put it on. So the first crew would come in and put it on. The next crew would come in and take it off, put it back on, and have to meet our criteria for exactly how the drip edge needed to be put on, how underlayment was applied, how many nails and shingles, the approach on the eave edges and rake edges. I mean, everything was like, hey, let's do a test. If they didn't pass, we would say, hey, this is how you do it. Are you willing to do it that way? And if they were, we would then make sure they did by inspecting what we expect with final inspections. But hey, we were able to obtain some crews fairly quickly. The other thing is your crews might get sucked up really fast. Think about places that may have had storms before you and that are kind of dying down. That's a great place to advertise and bring some folks from. Plus, there's those third-party groups out there that can connect you with subcontractor crews. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a podcast with one of them here in the near future. So excited to do that. Subcontractor Hub, I think, is the name of that. And then your tech. What kind of technology are you going to be using? How do you ramp that up quickly? Also the tools, like so ladders and things like that. Can you have those ready to go for people as they come in? Do you need iPads because you're doing your presentations and stuff like that on iPads, signing documents on iPads? What about phones? What about all of the different pieces of technology that you might need out there, both hardware and software, in order to handle this? So are you going to track all of the contacts that you have? If you do, are you using something like Sales Rabbit to follow your field sales team? And then what is your approach? Think about that a little bit. Is your approach very digital and you're generating leads through Facebook and Google and SEO and things like that? Or are you a door knocking crew? Like, hey, we can go and door knock and get jobs that way. I like both kind of put together. Hey, we're going to provide some leads, but they're not going to be all of your leads. So you need to have some self-generation. We actually have some great training on that in our all-star marketing program, where we give 10 different ways for salespeople beyond just door knocking to obtain business with personalized letters, flyers, door hangers, barbecues and picnic. Like there's all kinds of things and ways to generate more business. So think about that quite a bit as you approach the storm, is how am I going to go after it? If you're going after that digital thing and you have the capital and resources available to you, it might be time to pull that lever and invest hard into your Google Ads, Google business listings, and your Facebook approach to offset maybe those guys that are out there knocking doors like crazy. Or the other way around, hey, I'm going to invest heavily in knocking doors, keeps my budget down low, and reduces my overhead quite a bit. So you can look at it either way. Both approaches work. And like I said, I like a little bit of both. And then last but not least, this is an important one. You got to have your leadership figured out. You get this storm thing that happens. You're maybe going to be hiring some new people. Do you have the leadership and the coaching and training available? Somebody on your team that can do those kind of things for these people? You've got this sales manager. Maybe is he capable and able? And if you bring on enough people, is he going to be able to handle them all? I can remember having this opportunity early in my career. I was a sales guy. I sold a bunch of jobs, and I got approached to be sales manager. I'm like, hey, what does that mean? I had been sales manager in another type of business, but I hadn't been one in this type of business. And so I said, hey, what's the job description? What do you expect of me? They said, I don't know. I don't have one. We just want people to do it like you. So I created it. I put it all together like, hey, this is what I think I should do, what I shouldn't do, and what I think we can do. And I was that leader that had a vision, and that's the big thing. Like if you're looking at people leading a thing, have them put together a bit of a vision for you, what they think is possible, what they think is realistic, why they want to actually lead, the how are they going to actually do what they have set out to do as their vision. Like, hey man, I can lead a team that sells $5 million. Well, how are you going to do that? Because there's hiring and there's training, there's supervision, there's coaching, there's all these things that go along with it. Like, how do you lay all that out? And then how does it benefit everybody else? So that's a leader should be able to do those types of things. And then when it comes to hiring training, what's the approach going to be? Is it going to be onesie twosies because you're not really built for handling a whole lot more volume? You didn't really have a storm attack plan, so you're going to hire them onesie twosie and kind of follow this ride along training approach? Or are you able to hire in groups and bring a group of people on? We'll talk about that a little bit more as we move forward with this. And then how are we going to train them? Like that training is going to be really important to the success rate and how quickly they're able to go to making some money. Because that's the key to this entire thing. Whenever you're hiring salespeople, is time to money. How fast can I start making money with you? And there's some things that we can do in that approach that allow us to give some of that incentive right away based on some activity and some results that isn't necessarily I got all the money from the homeowner. But we have to be capitalized to be able to do that. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And then last but not least, the customer experience. You've got this opportunity. There's all of these jobs that are just laying out there and sitting there for you to go and get, and you can, and it's not real hard. That was one thing I noticed whenever I first got into this is like, hey, somebody else is paying for the majority of this. How hard can that be to really sell? It's like, hey, I'm going to give you a Mercedes for $3,000. Do you want it? Yeah, you would figure out how to get $3,000. It's the same approach and same mindset in this. But I also had to change my mindset when it came to procuring work. I used to go out there and think like every single one of them meant money to me. That's what it was. Like they meant money to me. And sometimes I had great experiences. I was able to obtain and get a lot of work that way. Because I had the mindset like, boo, every door I knock, at some point, somebody's going to say yes, and I'm going to get some money for helping them out. The reality came down to I got a few people that were upset and approaching. It's the energy and the vibe you give off. If you give off this selfish and greedy type of vibe, some people are going to be okay with that, but most people aren't, and they're going to sniff it out right away. But if you come at it with more of a servant approach, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to do something for you that's valuable and free, which is an inspection to let you know where you stand. And if you like all that and you want to be my client, great. If not, at least I've given you the information to make some educated choices and decisions throughout this. It became a whole different thing. I started looking at this as a community involvement project. How do I support my communities well? And I'm going to go inspect every house in an entire neighborhood. And that was my actual approach. Hey, Mrs. Jones, my name is Jim Johnson. I'm with ABC Roofing, and I'm here inspecting every home in the neighborhood to give each homeowner an assessment of their property, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. There's no obligation. I mean, of course, if you want to work with me after I do it, great, but I want to give you the tools that whenever you deal with your insurance company or you deal with another contractor, you're in a place that's educated and allows you to make good choices. And that approach just changed everything. Everybody I talked to was listening. They could feel my energy. I was genuine and authentic. I really did want to help. And it was just unbelievable, the numbers that I could generate. So what does that customer experience look like, not from just the upfront or during the sale or meeting the adjusters and those type of things, but during the production, and how is that laid out? And what is this experience going to be like for them that takes them from A to Z? It's not just A to you have damage, sign up with me, we'll get it taken care of with the insurance company. Because there's a lot more. There's picking colors, delivery and materials, expectations of the homeowner, special instructions. There's so many different things that come into play with crew and work day and what that looks like after the work is done, the inspections and making sure that everything's done right, making sure that the customer isn't satisfied but ecstatic. They just want to tell everybody about you. Because here's the thing about that person that became your customer. They're the person that knows everyone you don't know. They know your next customer. And if it's a bad experience, they're not going to tell them. If it's a great experience, they're going to do nothing but tell them. We want them to become our evangelists. We want them to go out and tell everybody. Every time they hear the word roof, that experience is so great, they think of us first. So think about your customer experience. Do you have a plan for that? What that looks like? Is it part of your culture? And have you built that in with your team? And if you haven't, as you bring these new folks on, what would you do to install something like that? Next, so now I have a storm attack plan. Now I have to have a repeatable process. And there's 3 areas where we need to have a repeatable process. I need a repeatable training process. Like I bring people in, I train them like this. I have a quick start thing to get them to the point of getting people signed up and into our world. Then I have an ongoing 90-day growth plan. And then I have an annual continuing education program, and laying out that and what that looks like. Because like I said, if we train people well, we don't want them out there practicing on our prospects and clients. We want them to go out there and actually play the game. Practice happens in the office. That's where that training happens. And our goal is always to have somebody up to speed to the ability to sign a service agreement or contingency style agreement after 3 days. Like we role play, we practiced the door knocks and presentation, everything we needed to do. And until they could prove to us that they were capable, they weren't going out the door to go and represent my brand and my company and my reputation. And we've got to have that type of attitude. So many of us follow a different approach, and we'll talk about that and the things that will hold you back. Fulfillment. So how am I going to fulfill every project from the time that the insurance company says yes, and we go and pick out colors with our customer, we turn an order in? What does it look like from there? So laying that out exactly, making that repeatable. And then finally, I'd have those 2 processes now kind of squared away. I have a training process and I have a job process, and exactly how that's going to go ideally. I have a hiring process, this way of bringing people in. And is it 1 or 2 at a time? Because we're going to have a little bit more of a ride-along approach to our training, which I would coach and advise against, but I understand. And then also because we don't have the tools. Like that's why we do ride-along training. We haven't taken the time to build the tools, training platform, training manual, a coaching process, a training schedule, those type of things. We don't have that. So we put them with somebody that we hope represents us well, teaches them well. But the thing is, it's like the telephone game. Each person that you pass it along to, it gets distilled down. And that expert aspect, mastery aspect of being a salesperson in our industry breaks down to being average or less. So we actually want to have a great process for hiring so that we can train them well. So that hiring process, what would that look like? I mean, I talked about part of it like, hey, let's go after friends first. That's the easiest and fastest. Let's go after our customers next. There's so many folks out there right now that are struggling to find work and do things well. Opportunities create itself. I mean, that's a great way. Like get an email out. Hey, you're looking for a job change. We have opportunity. We can train you quickly, and you can change your life financially as well as lifestyle-wise in a culture that fits you. So those are steps 1 and 2, like going after those. Now, step 3 is, where do I find people that fit what it is we do? And so taking that the next step further, we would want to build out on our website a careers page. We would want to market that careers page, putting it out on Facebook, putting it out on LinkedIn, putting it out on your various different career job boards. to see what that culture is like. Because the thing we forget is that we're a research society now. Before we buy anything, like your company and me coming to work for it, I'm going to go check you out. So I'm going to go check out your Google reviews. I'm going to go look at your website. Oh, there's a careers page. What is it? What does that have? Oh, there's a guy that actually works there. There's a video, and the guy talks about what it's like to work for you, the opportunity it's created, how it's changed his life, the culture he's involved in. That might be the thing that closes the deal with high quality talent. Explain what it looks like to do what it is you do, and be honest about it. Don't hide anything. Whenever you downplay the hard work that's necessary, being on a roof, doing the things that we do, you set a false expectation. Set expectations up. We work hard. We challenge you. We're going to push you. We're going to help you reach heights and your potential that you never realized you had by working with our team. That's what people really want. They want to be challenged. They want to grow. They want opportunity. And so build your careers page around that, and then drive traffic to it and sharing it with your network and saying, hey, network, if you know anybody, share this with them. And you'll be able to recruit and hire people pretty quickly. And then how do you go about qualifying them? How do you go about interviewing them? How do you go about going through final interviews and that approach? That's a great place to probably get some coaching. I don't know, but this podcast would take too long if I covered all of that. But knowing that you need to have an approach for your hiring is super important. Now, my suggestion is hire at least 2 at a time, at least that. I always like to hire about 10 at a time. I would hire 10. I would do 3 days of training. Anybody that doesn't fit, it's okay. You can leave. It'd leave me with about 8. And those 8, I would pair up in 2s and send them out together. Because when you have guys working together, they have peer pressure. And peer pressure is good. There's this healthy tension that guy over there is knocking doors. I guess I'm going to keep knocking doors. And he sees him over here and he's still knocking doors. Well, I'm going to keep knocking. And so it keeps this pressure on them. It gives them somebody to talk to that's at the same place as them. They're not left on an island out there. That's so many of the mistakes I see is just we hire a guy, give him a brief training. It's not very good. Go out there and get people to sign these contracts. And he goes out by himself, gets his teeth kicked in for a couple of hours and goes, it sounds like it'd be better to hang out at the bar. And that's where he goes. Or he goes home and watches TV or does something else because there's no pressure or healthy tension and support for him to do what it is that he does. Have your print and digital assets ready. Like you should have a folder that's like storm folder. Here's all of my door hangers. Here's my flyers. Here's my letters I send out. Here's my resources for my signs, everything that you need, all of your contracts, whatever you need, you have all of those ready to go. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about like that's all if it happens here locally. If you're going to chase one, which I don't suggest chasing and leaving, I suggest catching. Be after a place that you actually want to be and want to stay. Because why would you go out there and obtain all this work and then leave? You got raving fans. They believe in it. They're your evangelist out there, and you're going to walk away from that if you do great work? That's crazy. You built this established company now that people trust and have reviews on. Wow, what a beautiful thing. So don't be a storm chaser, be a storm catcher. Plan in advance where you want to go. As a matter of fact, at one point I held licenses in 38 different states because if something happened, I wanted to be prepared. Not only did I have that, but I had a contract ready to go. All I had to do was send to the printer. I had a mailing address, PO box usually, that allowed me to have an address. I had a local phone number plus an 800 number. I had these things in place before any of that happened so that when it did happen, I was prepped and ready to go. And I knew exactly where I wanted to go to. For me, it was large metropolitan areas that I had picked out that were somewhat commonly hit by storms. But your approach could be something different. You could be mid-market. You could be small market. There's all kinds of different ways to approach it. Probably getting some coaching on that fits your culture and what you're after would be something that's helpful to give you clarity on what you're chasing. So if you're going to chase it, catch it, have a plan for it, take into consideration all of these things that I talked about because you have this print and digital media that's got to go out and got to go out quickly because speed to lead is the key. This idea of being first on the ground, being out there and getting after it fast, we're going to talk about in just a minute. Before we talk about that, let's talk about what will hold you back. So there's some things that are going to hold you back. First off, shooting from the hip. I see so many do it. Like they're running their daily stuff, and they hey, I'm growing my business. I'm doing my normal thing, and boom, a storm hits. There's no plan. Everybody runs out like chickens with their heads cut off, going to where they think the damage is, and you never get what it was that you were after. And if you do get some of it, it's chaotic. There's no process for it. You're frustrated. Everybody's mad at each other. Drama's created, and it just becomes this disorganized chaos. And I don't mind organized chaos, but disorganized chaos is not good. So being measured and thinking about what you're doing before you just go out there and run off half cocked, pretty good idea. So don't just shoot from the hip. Lay out at least a formulation. Like if you're late to the game, a storm hits, now you got to do something. Lay the plan out first. Always talk about striking first and fast, but if you're going to strike first and fast, you better have at least a decent plan for it. So sit with your team, get on it right away, and write out a plan for how you're going to approach it with your goals, your resources, all that stuff under consideration. The other thing that'll hold you back is ride-along training. Get rid of that garbage, whether it's a storm or not a storm. It's an absolute mess. It doesn't work very well. It takes forever to learn and ramp somebody up when there's like proven approaches that ramp people up quicker. You can normally get somebody up to speed in 3 to 5 days to the point of signing contracts out there. So teaching them your culture, teaching them your door knocking or canvassing scripts, or how to approach a door if you're running leads, your inspection process, your presentation, your how you help them solve the problem that they have, whether it's your system or with an insurance company, and then how to actually ask for the sale and close the deal and get a commitment. Because that's the other thing that I see that'll hold you back out there. The idea that you have maybes. Yeah, meet my adjuster. You went up, you said, hey, my name is Jim. I'm with so-and-so roofing company. We're out doing inspections. We inspected all your neighbors. And so I thought I'd stop by and see if you need an inspection. They go, yeah, sure. And you go up and you inspect. First off, that's a mistake. Number one, you didn't tell them anything about your company, your qualifications. You didn't establish your authority or credibility. So they don't even know you yet. So there's very little trust. I would highly suggest, hey, tell a little bit about your company's story. Tell a little bit about what it is that you do, what you'll be doing, set expectations for your inspection. Talk a little bit about how the process itself works and maybe some of the misconceptions that they may have versus what reality is. And so you're talking a little bit about process and like, hey, there's this insurance thing. They'll take care of it for you. It will cost you your deductible, but that's the only out-of-pocket expense. And we just want to help you get the information that you need to make a good choice. Getting some of that credibility, walk around the property with them and prove that you know what you're talking about. Those type of things will give your closing percentage a better chance of being much higher. So this idea of ride-along training, we want to avoid 100% because it leads to maybes. It leads to this, hey, yeah, you have damage. Here's the pictures of it. Would you like me to work with your insurance company? They say, yeah, okay, I'll meet them out here, make a claim. They make a claim, a date gets set, they call you, you go meet them. Sure enough, they take care of it. And you come back to meet the homeowner and say, hey, great, we got it taken care of. All we need to do now is get your insurance paper. Well, can you give me an estimate? Because you didn't earn the job. You didn't earn the right to that business. So we don't want to follow that approach at all. If you want to learn more about that approach, we have the Rookie Quick Start for insurance sales. It is a great training course to get somebody up to speed in 3 days. But you don't have to use our stuff. I'm not telling you that. I'm just trying to help you. There's other people that have great storm restoration stuff, but if it's not built around 3 to 5 days and getting them through this course really quickly, and then you coaching and training on it to ensure that it's there and role playing and practicing with them, I probably wouldn't do those things. Now go build your own. More power to you, please. It's a lot of work. And do you have the skill to do it? Are you that good of a coach? Are you that good of a trainer? Do you have that much experience? It's up to you which resources you use. But remember, that was part of the original plan. Which resources am I going to have? Do I have everything ready, or can I third party it out to somebody? So really think about that. And that's the next thing. So ride-along training is something that's going to hold you back. A training program can speed you up. The next aspect that will hold you back is support. So now I've got all this opportunity. What third party access do I have? Do I have some supplementing teams that could help me supplement jobs that maybe my salespeople wouldn't be good at? I can get pros doing it that would provide a better experience for our customer. Third party answering services, third party marketers, like these third party folks that would allow you to optimize this dream storm situation without creating an entire nightmare. And then lack of support in administration. Your administrative team isn't deep enough and wide enough, and they get overwhelmed by the amount of opportunity that you bring in the door. How quickly can you ramp them up? Do you have training tools for them? That will hold you back if you can't build your administration team up quickly. If you can't build your administration team up quickly, those third party resources like VAs and administration companies can actually help you fill those gaps. And then last but not least, do you have a mentor or coach that's walked this path before? Maybe you've tried it a few times, it didn't go quite the way you wanted. A mentor or coach could help you out with that. And I'm not trying to be self-serving here, but we help people get those things figured out quickly, solve problems, avoid those mistakes that we would make throughout this process, and really nail it. And we can do that in the heat of the battle, but we would prefer it to do proactively and have you set up for whenever that situation happens. Taking a quantity over quality approach. You're going to go out there and you're going to go, hey, we're going to go at everybody. We just knock on every door, get everybody to say yes to meeting their adjuster. That's who we're going to be, and that's what we're going to do. And you get all these people that say, yeah, but are they yeah? Are they, yes, I'm working with you and I know you're my contractor? Do I have a commitment? Is it the type of jobs that we want? Is it partials, and we know they're partials, borderline damage and stuff like that, instead of legitimate damage that, hey, we know we can get approved? Making sure you got great damage, making sure you got the type of project you want to work on, the people that you want to work with. That gives you quality. And so your time spent on them is going to be fruitful. If you have quantity, you're going to spend a lot of wasted time on jobs that you don't. Shoot, we used to be like, hey, there's insurance companies we won't work with. Knock on the door, bam, bam, bam. Hi, my name is Jim Johnson. This is what we do. This is how we do it. This is my company, a little bit about me. This is why we're doing what we're doing. By the way, who's your insurance company? Hey, they're so-and-so. I'm not going to say anybody because people keep getting sued, but we all know who they are. I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones. It's unfortunate. I'll still do this inspection for you so you can have something to approach and work through it with, but we don't work with insurance company. Boy, that hits hard, doesn't it? And that's a commitment of saying no to somebody. Like, yeah, hey, I've got some borderline damage up there. Now, if it's obvious, yeah, sure, we'll figure it out. But if it's borderline damage up there and you know those guys are jackasses, you're going to spend a bunch of time wasted on that when I could be helping somebody with an insurance company that actually cares about them. And I would tell a homeowner that. And they're going to call their agent, and their agent's going to call the claims department. The claims department's going to call you. Make sure you give them your name, your information, everything. Anybody wants to talk to me about what I just said about their company, you tell them to call me. And when you get enough of those built up, they might just change how they approach their homeowners. That's part of our job too. I think that's the right thing to do and the fair thing to do, because I want to work with people that I can get the job executed for, who want to execute it with me, and who are not putting hurdles or obstacles in the path to being successful. I can come back to those folks later because they're going to have a hard time finding anybody anyway. And then, like I said before, all of that type of stuff lead to maybes. I don't want maybes. I want yeses. I want commitment. So a signed piece of paper of some kind or another, at worst, a handshake. This handshake that, Mr. Jones, if I meet your adjuster, you understand if I get it approved, I'm going to be the one doing the work. You get that, right? And that when I do get the work, you're going to pick out colors with me. You're going to pay your deductible. We're going to get, I'm honest with them. Be clear. I don't want to waste my time on somebody that doesn't want to be my customer, that is trying to pull the wool over my eyes, take advantage of me, or any of those type of things. And every once in a while, I'll do a handshake. But you new guys and anybody that doesn't have much experience, and even those that have experience, like, go get the signature. That's a promise on a piece of paper saying, yeah, if you do this, I'll do that. And that's what I want. I need some commitment, and you shouldn't be scared of that. If you can't get at least that, you should get out of this business, because that's part of sales, commitment. So Next piece, strike fast. I mean, you have your plan, you have your approach, you can train, you got repeatable processes, you know what's going to hold you back, so you've avoided those. Great. Let's strike fast. Pros on the ground. Like storm happens, recon happens, pros on the ground. And we own the hood. Don't have this approach of, hey, everybody go out there and spread out all over the place and try to cover the entire city or the entire storm. Let's go after our bullseye. These are our targets. Let's go after them together as a team. Every vehicle in there, every guy in there, all working together to own that neighborhood. Because if you own the neighborhood, the others won't come in there. You got signs everywhere. They go, oh, well, this one's been tapped out. I got to go find something else. Now we all go, well, we're missing out on all this other opportunity out there. And I've got these honey hole. I want to hide, like these sales guys that want to hide, like, hey, I got this honey hole. The problem is you got a honey hole out there and you got a sign or two up and you're not working as good as you can because you're running over there to go handle that person. You're running to the other side of town to handle that person. Another company comes in like mine. We go, everybody out of the truck, let's go. And boom, you come back and we own that hood too. So own the hood with your team. Go get the hood. Now, while everybody's out there knocking the doors and getting the hood, we've got this leader. We call him the leapfrog leader. He's usually a team leader or a sales manager, and his job is to find the next hood. So he goes and he's doing his research. He's finding the bullseye, the ones we really want, this type of neighborhood. And he goes, okay, new guys that are being trained, boom, come in here. Guys that were working in the first one that aren't having the success rate that we would like, come on and move over into this neighborhood. Gets going and boom, we're now owning that hood. Boom, leapfrog again, find the new hood. Leapfrog, leapfrog, leapfrog. Your job as that leader is to give your team the confidence that they don't have to hide in a honey hole, that you're going to go out and help them find the work, and it's going to be easy because there's a lot of you. There's a lot of you, and that builds credibility. I go, wow, man, they must be the only roofing company in town. I need to go with those guys. So leapfrog leader. Now, the leapfrog leader needs to get across to his team something very important. This is something that we developed 23 years ago. We call it 30 and 30. I talked about this earlier, 30 jobs. We're like, oh, that doesn't sound like very many. No, 30 and 30 days. I got 30 days to get 30 contracts. So I got these hoods I'm owning. Maybe the first one I get 30. I would like to split them up, maybe 10, 10, and 10 on 3 different hoods, all really close together. So I'm not running all over the city because time is important, quality over quantity. And all of those folks should lead me to 3 more. So if I get 30 and I get 3 more from each one of them, that's 120. We were able to produce that consistently over and over and over again. Get 30. It was the mantra, 30 and 30 days, 30 and 30 days. If that's 3 a day, I don't care. Like, let's go. Work hard those first 30 days. Work like you've never worked before in your entire life. Go get them before anybody else can, because we're doing a disservice to them if we allow another company to do their work. That needs to be your attitude and your mindset, that you're doing everything you can to help those first 30 people as quickly as possible. So get that mantra going in your team, 30 and 30, 30 and 30, 30 and 30. And you're all about getting agreement, like get the agreements, get them committed, and then start meeting those adjusters. Some incentives. Everybody that gets to 30 and 30, do something cool. Have a big blowout party at your house, whatever it may be. But apply some incentive. The reason people do things is because of incentive. There is nothing on this planet that we do without incentive. And when you understand and you can apply it correctly, you're going to get the results that you want. And earning the commissions is just, that's the standard. Now, I'm going to earn the commissions. I might earn more commissions because I sell a whole lot, and that's some incentive. But what's the thing that creates this let's go attitude? Okay. It could be a trip at the end of the year if everybody does a certain thing. It could be something at the end of a month. It could be, hey, everybody that signs over this many, like shooting for that 30 and 30, saying, hey, 30 is the number. Everybody that signs them, I'm going to do this for. Maybe we do a box seat at a football game or something like that. Something that they go, oh, that's a little extra. I want to go get that. Giving them recognition through mastery. So things like trophies, black shirts, wrestling belts, those type of things. Guys really love that kind of recognition and being known that I'm the best. I want other people to know that I'm the best. Our top guys, if they would go get 30 and 30, they all got these awesome, badass black shirts. They were the only ones that were allowed black shirts. That's it. And they lost them at the end of the year. Next year, we got to get them again. So they had to give them back. But they wore them with pride into every meeting, that type of thing. Trophies, incentives, keep those in mind. It will push people a little bit further. And you're going to have the overhead for sure to cover it if you do these type of things. And then last but not least, on the strike fast, first to build wins. Build that first job as soon as you get total is going to get done. I don't even care what the numbers are. I'm putting that roof on as fast as I possibly can. I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 in a neighborhood in each one of the neighborhoods that I get, because the ones that have activity are doing something and see my work. That's where those extra 3 from the 30 and 30 come from. I can go, hey, we're doing work. Come see, come check us out. Come watch what we're going to do. Throw a big ass party while you're there. Those always are great. Put a notification out on all the doors. Hey, we're going to be doing our first build. You're a week into the storm. You're already building your first job, and you're inviting everybody over. Come see what the experience is like with my company. It's going to be different than anything you've ever seen before. And you have the show put together. And whether you're using catch-alls or equipters, your crew is dressed tight, your supervisor's out there watching the job, they're interacting with the folks that are there. Who knows? Maybe you even got some games, and maybe you're throwing bean bags or something. Win a free inspection by throwing bean bags. There could be all kinds of different ways to make it an event that people want to attend. I used to do barbecue. Like, hey, here's a bunch of barbecue. I'd smoke it up myself, invite everybody over to watch this amazing job that we're going to do. Boom, sign 30 more people in a day. You have those type of opportunities in these type of situations if you just think a little bit about how to go about doing it. So first, build wins. Get that roof on as quickly as possible. Now, the last part of this podcast today, what that I hope helps you optimize this dream storm situation and avoid the nightmare that can happen, is culture is king. And really this hero culture attitude. You got to think about it. No matter how well you have it planned out, no matter how structured you are and process oriented and training savvy and hiring capable and crew accessible you are, you're going to add a lot of volume to a situation that wasn't like that before, which is going to add some stress. It's going to create mistakes. You're going to have people that are out of time with time management. We got to step in. We got to step in, and we got to get everybody bought in administration and production and sales, that we're here to help and serve each other. We're here to be a hero to the other guy. We need to be actually asking, how do I help you? How can I help you go get more? Because the more you get, the more safe my job is. And how do we share something with them? They help you out. How do you share with them? How do you take a little bit of your commissions and do something nice or give it to them for them helping you? Do something you were supposed to do as a salesperson. If you can get that culture going, this creation where those who are serving you, you reward, and you serve others and say, hey, Betty, I see you're really busy with all this stuff. What can I do to help you out from a sales perspective? And she says, take more pictures. You take more pictures. Absolutely. I will make sure that that happens. But we stand in the gap between each other. We don't start fighting because it gets stressful and it's hard and not everybody's doing everything exactly the way we planned. We stand in the gap. The leaders stand in the gap, and they get between production and sales, who is battling over the quality of the work that's being turned in. Between administration and production, and administration and sales, us leaders stand in the gap and say, okay, I get it. We have a problem here. Come to me. Let's get this handled. Let's not create something that kills our culture. Our culture is key. The behaviors, you got these core values, stick to them. Don't hire outside of your culture. And this will happen. You get a storm, somebody calls, hey man, I know everything there is to know about selling in a storm. I'll come do it for you. Well, let me ask you a little bit, let me tell you a little bit about our culture, what we expect, how we train, what's going to happen. And they're like, oh no, I know how to do this. You don't even have to worry about me. I'll just do my thing. Don't worry about me. Nope, not part of my culture. Out. Even if he was good and able to procure a lot of business, he's going to set an example that I'm not looking for. I want the example of our core values, the way we approach things, these raving fans that we create, the way that we approach the business. If you don't want to be a part of that and you don't want to be involved in that and you're just this mercenary, that's not who I need. I want people that are on the team. We're here to work together to achieve a mission. All of this comes down to leadership. Do we have the leadership that's prepared? Do we have the leadership that's put the resources together? Do we have the leadership that has the experience and coaching ability, and the leadership that's willing to stand in the gap when things get chaotic? because that standing in the gap is either going to create that dream scenario for you that, wow, we had a hell of a year. That was amazing. It was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of stress, but boy, we stood up to the test. We fought through together. We came together instead of becoming divided. And that was awesome. Or the nightmare situation. We created more work than we could handle. We didn't have the processes to handle it. We didn't have the team that was willing or culture that supported handling it. And it all blew up in our faces. We see it over and over and over again. And so many times it leads to a bankruptcy. It leads to a business closing. It leads to a name change. It leads to all of these different things that just none of us want to deal with. And the answers are there. I hope this helps you today. I hope this helps you during this time, because there's been 2.4 million homes damaged already this year. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I want to have you prepared. I want you to get the most out of it. I want you to have that dream sequence. If you need help with this, go to our website. It's contractorcoachpro.com. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see a button that says Take Assessment. Take that contractor assessment. It'll take you 15, 20 minutes. It's no joke. It's a real assessment. It's going to give us some insight into your company, where you're weak, where you're strong. And then we'll do a free coaching call with you. Not a sales pitch or any of that kind of stuff. We're going to look for the 2 or 3 things that we could help you with that would maybe help you level up. And if we see that you're handling storm work and doing some things like that, we're going to give you those 2 or 3 things. You like it? Great. And you want to get coaching? Awesome. If not, at least we served you well. We gave you the ability to not have the bad things happen at the end. I hope this podcast was valuable to you. I hope that we bring you value each and every week whenever we're on here. I know this is a little bit of a different episode. I just thought the timing was right for it. So go create that dream, avoid the nightmare, and we'll see you on an episode in the future. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe, download, and rate. We love that from you that are watching what we're doing. And we hope that we're being helpful to our industry. See ya. We're out.